point, I'd like to kind of start this out with tables. Now, there's two different types of tables, and what is a table really? It's where we store data inside of Access. Now, in our case, we're not going to be storing anything. We're actually just going to be kind of peeking at it. I like to refer to it as kind of a window into the database. We're going to use what's called link tables. We don't have to, though. We could use import tables, where we literally will draw data out of Passport and into an Access table, which the advantage to doing that is I can refresh my database and go out on the road as a sales rep and have data as recent as my most recent refresh and be able to run reports and so forth against that. Can that be useful? Certainly. In the right situation, it can. Link tables are nice because it gives me a real-time view. So when I execute a report, I'm not having to refresh anything. I simply run the report, and boom, I've got data as of this very second. So we're gonna start by creating an Access database, and we're going to build some tables. Now, if you want to follow along, I'll work a little bit slowly here. So if you're working on your own desktop, go ahead and open up Microsoft Access. I'm using Access, I think, 2010 on this workstation. We are going to start by creating a blank database, which is really the default, comes up and allows us to either open or create. We're actually going to create here, and we're going to name that blank database. We're actually going to call this Training Access DB1. I'll hit Enter to save that. You can call yours whatever you'd like. Now, what that does for us is it creates an Access database for us of that name, and then the default is in your My Documents folder. And when it first opens, you're going to notice, at least in the newer releases, it opens up with a blank table. It's a table that has nothing in it. It's expecting us to want to start to create tables here. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but I'm not actually going to be creating Access tables. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the little X over here to the right and close that down. So right now, as I look at this window, I see essentially a blank Access database. It is a, if you're an artist, it's a blank piece of canvas waiting for us to start painting. Over here to the left is our objects box. And this is where we're going to start to see things as we create them start to appear. And you know, so we can actually look at tables and queries and stuff like that that might be available to us. So as we look at this, the newer versions, like you're, I'm sure, accustomed to in Excel these days and Word and so forth, you have the ribbon technology. That took an adjustment in this tool. I didn't take too long in Word, but boy, it took me about 2 months to get used to it in this tool. We have several options up here. We have, File, Home, Create, External Data, and Database Tools. Well, at this point, we have no tables to do anything else with, so we need to link to our external data. So let's begin by clicking on our External Data tab, and you'll see now we are presented with multiple options here. We can go after stuff in an Excel spreadsheet, and there are times you may choose to do that. Maybe stuff in other Access databases that we have. We can also go after ODBC databases, and this is where we're going to be focused today. Even in the SQL environment, if you're going to use Access, you need to set up a data source name, just like you would to be able to attach to your database through Excel and so forth. I've already got a DSN. I'm not going to go through that today. That's stuff that we have gone through in other training. My assumption here is that we have that in place. If that's something you need a hand learning, hit me up offline. I'll show you how to do it. It's quite simple. So I'm going to click on ODBC database, and now we're going to be presented with two options. Again, import or link. Do I want to import data into a new table here inside of Access, or do I want to link to a data source outside of Access? And it's the latter that I'm looking to do. I want to link to it. It's the peeking through the window at the information in my business system. So we'll click OK, at which point we are presented with this window that asks us to select our data source. Now, there are different types of data sources. I've got mine set up as what we'll call a machine data source, which means folks that anybody who logs in on my machine can access these, as opposed to something a little bit more detailed, which is a file data source, which kind of limits who can get at it. And I'm going to select, I've got several. Most folks will only have one or two, maybe three. In my case, I've got several just at Passport alone here. But I'm going to attach to my new Passport SQL version 12.2 database. So I select that and click OK. At which point it's reaching out to that database and it's opening it up so that we can get a peek at what tables are available to us. And I do run into with folks who don't have a programming background or even much of a database programming background, used to calling things in Passport files. We have a customer file. We have a vendor file, right? We have item files. We have sales history files, and on and on and on. Well, in the world of database programming, typically we refer to those as tables. And in this case, I've got a list of tables that are available to me inside of the Passport database. Now, you have available to you with a SQL or even an XDBC, because this can be used in either event. If you have XDBC or SQL, you have available to you the Passport Data Dictionary, which will explain to us what each of these are. By and large, they're fairly easy to read. My strength is in the area of manufacturing, not the financials, but I know I can look at this, and this is my accounts payable accounts file, my AP open item, AP notes, that sort of thing. We're going to scoot down. DBO simply means I'm a database owner, which is the default for a Passport installation. So we're going to scoot down a little bit here. They are in alphabetical order, and we're going to select one of these tables. It's the CUSFIL00. So that would be my customer file for company 00 for this particular installation of Passport. Now, we're also going to go down a little bit further, and we're going to grab our sales rep file. And I'll show you why in a little while when we get into doing our queries. And I'm not holding anything down here. I can click on any of these, and it's selecting multiples as I go. So I could grab that and whatever else I wanted, or unselect them if I chose to. But we're going to start with two files that you're probably reasonably familiar with, and that would be a salesman file and a customer file, both of which are from accounts receivable. Once we're done, we're going to click OK, at which point our tables are now added to our Access objects over here on the left-hand side of the screen. We see now that we have a customer file and a salesman file. And I can double-click on these, and it's going to open it up, and there's my raw data inside of my database, just like that. As I scoot across, we'll see that we have dozens of fields available to us in the customer file. Typically on a report, I don't need all that stuff. I just need a couple, 2, 3 fields. Maybe it's 7 or 8 fields, whatever. But I don't need all that stuff. So normally we're not going to go after reports, aren't going to go directly after a table like this, though there are circumstances where you may choose to. Normally, we're going to start to limit stuff that we're looking at.